Dear friends at Cornell, it is an honor to speak to you today and to share with you what I believe is one of the most extraordinary democratic struggles of our time, Venezuela's fight for freedom, truth, and dignity. I'm speaking to you from an undisclosed location inside my country. For more than a year, I have lived in hiding, separated from my family, and under constant threat from a regime that would disappear me or worse if they discover where I am. And yet, even in these circumstances, I feel profoundly grateful to be able to connect with you. The fact that you are listening, that you care about the fate of my country, already gives meaning to this moment. Venezuela might seem distant to many of you, or perhaps familiar only through headlines, often framed as a story of political division or ideology. But behind those headlines lives a nation of extraordinary courage, a society that refuses to surrender to tyranny. Just a few decades ago, Venezuela was one of the most prosperous democracies in the Americas, a country of opportunity, energy, and hope. Then came a political project that promised equality and justice, but delivered the opposite. In the name of revolution, our institutions were dismantled, elections were manipulated, and the rule of law was destroyed, and poverty was weaponized into oppression. What was once a democracy became a system of control built on corruption, violence, and lies. Today, Venezuela is not simply governed by an authoritarian regime. It is controlled by a criminal structure that fuses state power and organized crime and narco-terrorist regime. It traffics in drugs, gold, arms, oil, and human suffering. It uses hunger as a weapon and exile as punishment. More than 9 million Venezuelans, a third of our population, have been forced to flee. Those who remain face persecution, censorship, and terror. Every day I learn of yet another Venezuelan that was snatched from their home and thrown into a dungeon. And yet we continue to fight. In 2023, millions of Venezuelans defied fear and organized a citizen-led election with no money. It was a primary with no money, no media, no guarantees. That day, fear was defeated, and I won with 93% of the vote. That victory was not just political, it was moral. It showed that even under persecutions, Venezuelans could unite around a single purpose and a leadership, despite years of division, resentment, and hatred. Deliberately sown by the regime to keep us apart, Venezuelans chose to come together across regions, generations, and belief to say with one voice, enough. We want our future back, and we want our families together. When the regime later banned my candidacy, our movement united behind Edmundo González Urrutia. Then in 2024, Venezuelans went to the polls again, this time in the presidential election. And once more, they voted overwhelmingly for change. The result was clear. The democratic forces won by a landslide and proved it for the world to see. The regime responded with an unprecedented campaign of violence, arrest, torture, but nothing could erase the truth. Our struggle is not only political, it is moral. It is about defending the idea that freedom must never be negotiable. What happens in Venezuela matters far beyond our borders. When a democracy falls in the Americas, dictatorships in Cuba, Nicaragua, Russia, and Iran grow stronger. But when Venezuela rises again, free and democratic and proud, the entire hemisphere becomes safer, more prosperous, and more just. To every Venezuelan student abroad, I want to say, your country needs you. Your knowledge, your energy, and your love for your homeland will be essential to rebuild the nation when freedom returns. And to all of you here at Cornell, students who value debate and truth, I ask you to care, to look beyond ideology and ask yourselves what side of history you stand on, with those who oppress or those who resist oppression in all its forms. Our story is one of resistance and renewal, of a people who refuse to let a dictatorship define them. Venezuela will be free. And when that day comes, we will transform our nation from a place of exile into a land of return, from despair in opportunity, and from silence into truth. Our story will remind the world that courage and solidarity, even in the darkest times, can change the fate of nations. Thank you, and may God bless our shared fight for freedom.